Sure if I'm going to keep this one or not. Um, but I kind of had this pondering about the fifth house in astrology and relationships. I'm having a Venus year, and for those of you who wonder why I'm lying down, it's because I'm very tired. Just, um, I don't like often emphasize this because this is where I do my work and not like um, bitch about my state. But for those of you who do not know, I am recovering from CPTSD, and that does entail sometimes fatigue. So that is why my videos are not always that properly edited, or I'll just do a live and bring it up because it does affect your accessibility to resources, and also the resource that allows you to make resources, and that's energy. So yeah, so sometimes I'm just lying down. It's not from disrespect to my audience. It's just that I'm very tired, but I still want to bring out my value to the world. So um, I'm having a Venus year, and that means a ton of relationship stuff. And it's in my third, so it's kind of day to day. Every day I would say something about relationships. And yeah, I mean, I've ended a Mars year where the ruler, it was the second house, and the ruler of my seventh and fourth was in the second. And now I'm having a Venus here, which is also very relationshipy related. And so I have relationship honors. um, and yeah, today's the Mercury day, which is the ruler of my seventh, and Mercury is in the seventh. So it makes sense that I wonder about this. But why am I wondering actually about the fifth house in relationships? I know if you know Jessica Laniado, she probably will have a better, deeper explanation that I currently can't access. So she does Placidus, but it's kind of funny because with astrology, and she does relationship astrology, like even queer relationships, non-committed relationships, all kinds of relationships thingy that should be fascinating. So check her out if you don't know her, and if you do, and perhaps you can tell me what insight do you have on the fifth house, because fifth house, for those of you who are kind of know basic astrology, is about gambling, risk taking, fun and pleasure, and therefore it's one of the sexuality houses, as it was considered a risk because you could bring children. And this is where I begin to touch on, and it's also creativity. Okay, so sex chakra creativity denotes the first child. So, for example, my mama has Taurus in her fifth, and I am a Taurus Sun in Venus. So her child, a Taurus Sun in Venus. But it doesn't necessarily correlate in that way. It just denotes something about the first child. So I got my moon out of bouncing conjunct Uranus, so I don't know what to expect. Um, but I was thinking about the fifth house because the seventh house is that committed partner usually, and some people say it is before the actual committing, or the actual official contractual committing, and then you go to the eighth, which is shared resources. So like after wedding or civil wedding or whatnot. um, I don't know how does it work with non-monogamous couples or polyculas or whatnot. Um, and And then, when you look at relationships, usually people ask you, then when will I find the one, Then you look at the ruler of the seventh house, and, Juno, Jupiter, or Venus, or both. I like to look at both, and how they aspected. For those of you who do Vedic, then you also look at the D9. Um, but then I think uh, you might, like, if it's a long-term thing, or if Saturn rules the seventh, then you definitely want to look at the D9 because it's after 36. I admit I didn't look deeper into that because Vedic seems to be very deterministic and prophetic, and I like didn't want to know what's going on there. It was too much for me. Um, now, yeah. So everybody checks, you know, the relationship houses. And I was wondering about the fifth house because fifth house is romance, is when you just begin to date. Um, and if you have a block there, or if you have, like me, a moon out of bounds in the fifth, ruling the fifth, in conjuncting Uranus and in a mystic rectangle, so it's kind of like try to cross this Bermuda Triangle, um, and get to the seventh, and I was thinking about, just how many people actually have things of the fifth, because fifth is also where we create something. Even if you think about manifestation or magic, or to create a relationship, is creativity is the fifth house. So you create something new in your life, um, and I think you want to look at this house, look at the rulers. If you don't know what rulers are, then ask me. I can do a video about rulership, which I probably should. I know I promised a video about planetary hours. I didn't forget that. And I promised a video about, um, and I can do a video about rulership, which is like basic astrology. It's a concept that, from learning what are houses and what are signs and what are planets, the next best thing is rulership, because it's going to really kind of uplift the kind of take you a phase forward. When I started to working with rulership, began to things began to make a lot more accurate sense in astrology, and I could surprise people with a lot more cool stuff that I could not surprise them previously. Um, so you want to look at the fifth and its ruler, not just about, um, romance or children, or leisure or creation, and not just if the ruler of the seventh or Jupiter or Venus is there or ruling this house, but also you want to look at how the ruler is aspected, not just in terms of fertility per se, but what are you coping with when you're just beginning to date someone, when you're just falling in love. What are you coping with? Because, and I kind of think that this is also to do with attachment style, because if the fifth is, it's not the only thing, yeah, um, where we see the first child. So, of course, the moon will have great significance when it comes to attachment style. But I would not ignore the ruler of the fifth as well, because it's bringing something into fruition. It's taking a risk, is bringing something into fruition. Um, it's labor. It's the first child. It's the first, the result of our labor. Although the employment house is the sixth, and you want to kind of just be aware of what's going on there. Um, and also, if you do have an outer planet connecting to the ruler, or an outer planet in the house, um, that may mean that you have something to do with more than just yours. Like you're downloading a new timeline. Whenever you have personal planets connecting to interpersonals like the outers, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and to some extent Saturn, it means that there is something significant. You're a part of downloading a new timeline in regards to those personal planets. Okay, let's say I have the ruler of my seventh and fourth in opposition in Pluto, and I have the Pluto in Scorpio generation. So it's very much exposing the timeline of the relation between home, relations, the physical home, perhaps even real estate, and the traumas that we have regarding to attachments, relational traumas, sexual relations and whatnot, the good, the bad, and or using tantra to manifest the house or whatnot. Um, so it's downloading a new timeline. It's downloading something that is of more than just you, that you're bringing from your vantage point, from where your personal planet is and how it's aspected. Um, any more fifth house concerns? Um, I think that's that. I just pondered about this. Because I think a lot of people go to a certain reading and then the astrologer would look at you know, those things that we look at, the seven, the ruler of the seven, Juno, Jupiter, and Venus, and they might not necessarily, unless you talk about fertility, they might not necessarily pay attention to the fifth because it's like, oh, the fifth and Mars is like the boyfriend, the girlfriend, if it's Venus, the girlfriend, but the seventh is the spouse, Juno is the spouse, and it's not true. And this is important. You definitely don't want to make a prediction according to a person's fifth house of who they're going to end up with. But if there is something in the fifth that's keeping, like, it's not just that the seventh is an issue, but there may be something in the fifth that needs to be addressed so that you can even get to the seventh. And sometimes it's something is just the seventh, like if you have like me, the ruler of the seventh, opposition in Pluto, it's like, and Venus opposition in Pluto, it's like, okay, you know what you know why you're afraid of commitment. There's work to do there that know you're gonna have to do. But sometimes it can actually be found in the fifth. Also, if you are an astrologer and you give a reading, you don't see something special about, the fifth, the seventh, or Juno, or Jupiter. Um, you don't try to look for troubles when there might not necessarily be found there. But also look at the process. How do these people meet? Where do these people meet? Um, and what happens when they start dating? What are they going to run into when they start dating? Do they even get to date? Okay. If you get Saturn involved, then maybe even dating can be delayed. Like not just the relationship, but even dating. Um, if you've got Uranus, it can be a lot of cutoffs, or there can be long distance relationships, or they can be technological, like the knowing each other online, um, or something like that. And then you need to look at the aspects. If these are harmonious aspects, then it can simply mean rejuvenation in the life of the bonus, maybe a strike of nice, cool rebellion and innovation, like electric attraction. If it's disharmonious, then this can be a cutoff. Um, like maybe the distances does not allow the relationship, or something does not allow, there's something that is not, like there's something that's difficult to cross right from the get-go. Just like the electricity is there, but you know, don't want to get electrified. You want to also be able to withstand something. Um, Also look at bounds. Like for me, I got the moon out of bounds. There's something you want to know. Is the ruler out of bounds? There's something you want to know because it's also the attachment. Um, and that can create uh, another facet of dysregulation. And also if the ruler is retrograde, because retrogrades do operate in a way where you need to either go through something over and over again, or change and switch it up a lot. If like the ruler of your seventh is retrograde, or you got retrograde planets there, then it might take a couple of back and forth and kind of repeating patterns, or um, stuff that you just play back and forth, and like you don't know why you've tried a lot of things, but you're kind of moving forward and not moving forward, and then there can be like the frustration of, you know, the praxis of bringing something new to the world, because retrograde planets are about something that you make your own. And, oh wow, losing light here. So those were the missings of the fifth house. Um, you can tell me about your experience. What is your experience with just dating people? And what is in your fifth house? And where is the ruler if you know rulership? Or you can tell me about the fifth house and I can ask you where your ruler is. And I can write you a one-liner, because maybe it's just something that you're not aware of. I'm not sure I'm going to always be able to find a remedy. Um, but yeah, those were Venus missings on the Mercury day. I'm Tali Shear on Twitter, Achille Youngblood on Instagram. I do readings. What I focus in my readings is basically about those harmonious aspects. And you would ask, why the harmonious aspect if the manifesting ones are the hard aspects? And I'm like, yeah, because the harmonious aspects are your point of power that you can tap into and you need to activate. Because if you do activate them, then they can make your life more rich. They can give you a sense of something that does go right in your life, something that does bring you joy, something that does go easier, something that does work to your advantage in a way that is more smooth than perhaps the hard aspect or some of the hard aspects. And they can at times even provide a remedy, like an absolute remedy to how to manifest, or to how to tackle with the tension of growth that the harder aspects bring. And also, I'm Pisces ascendant, I'm very Jupiterian, and I like to focus on what I can do. Or where is the point of joy? Where is the point of optimism within this that is grounded, that is realistic, and kind of find a place where I can bring value without fooling you, or disillusioning you, um, but also not forgetting that there is joy in this life as well. So if you do want a reading from me, it's $50, and you can turn to me on Twitter or Instagram, or you can write your contact details, and we can set up a reading. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.